Okay. Hello. Welcome. It's time for town hall with me. Sorry, I look frazzled because I just stopped on the road. I'm in a town called Wall. I don't know. I guess I got a horn there. And I'm in the middle of South Dakota. It's time for town hall. My name is Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki. However, I'm running for president of the United States as a write-in candidate. So as a write-in candidate, you only have to write in Susan and Buchser. You don't have to include the other ones. So I just wanted to say that. Anyway, welcome. So I am on the road and I just stopped and I'm a bit hungry. I was going to stop earlier, but my GPS sent me down a wrong road. So then I got delayed for about 15 minutes. So I'm a little behind schedule. Anyway, cheers. Then I'm hungry too, so I'm going to eat a little. I have some salad here and some avocado. It should be quite tasty. So anyways, how are you all? How's your first day of fall going? Are you getting out and enjoying the nice weather? I had a chilly night last night. I think it got down into the 40s. So that would be around maybe 10 degrees in Switzerland, or maybe even 8. So it was cold. And but today it's warming up to be somewhere in the high 60s. So I think that's what we've got right now. And I'll be going to what's it called? Mount Rushmore soon. And then I'll be able to say hi to the presidents there. Anyway, I'm looking forward because I've never been. It's a place I've never been to in the US, so I'm really excited about it. But one thing I can say, and I've noticed this a lot, if you don't like tornadoes, apparently trees help. And I noticed here on my drive through this part of town, there aren't really a lot of trees. So I just want to remind the governors and the lieutenant governors and the mayors and all the other people that, there are these things called trees. And not only do they provide shade for the animals, but they provide, oxygen for the earth and for you and me. And then also, what else are they good for? They prevent tornadoes. So I think you might want to think about planting some trees. You could also plant them along the highways so that we don't go blind when the sun goes down or comes up, and it also gives shade. Again, you also need to organize, especially in this state so far, along the roadways. I haven't really seen a lot of places to pull over. And sometimes you got to stop and make a text. So, and this is something I think we might need countrywide, is we got to start making text stops. If you don't want people driving through your state and texting while driving, then you got to provide them with a way to not do that. So anyway, that's what I can say. And it's not just South Dakota, it's also a lot of the other states. We need to provide texting stops, at least one in between exits, so that people can pull over and text and then get going again. Because it's not really fair that you're gonna lock them up if they text, but then you don't provide them with a place to do it. You know? So, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful up here. It's a little windy. I had a couple of troubles recently on my drive where the wind was so strong it almost blew me off the road. So I had to also slow down a little bit so that that wouldn't happen. Yeah. So, sorry that I have to eat and talk, but I wanted to actually be on time. I think I am on time, right? So I am in South Dakota, and here it's 1:39. So I guess I'm 2 hours behind Washington, D.C. time on this visit. So I hope I'm on time. But I think so. Anyway, I don't know if you saw that I had come across a video. Apparently it was released about a month ago. And it was from 24 states, apparently. I mean, first off, it was Arizona. But then 23 other states decided to join in. They have or had a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court also, and their lawsuit stated that due to the DMV, so Department of Motor Vehicles, and when you get a driver's license, they ask you, do you want to register to vote? And then if you click yes, then you'll get registered, supposedly. Well, I have to say that first off, yeah, when I was writing my first lawsuit back in 22, I discovered that too. And the thing that they didn't mention in the lawsuit was that there's a kickback to the election division, I think, or maybe from the election division. I don't know, I have to look at my notes. But money is exchanged too between the election division and the Department of Motor Vehicles of your state. So somebody's paying somebody for that service. But I have to say, it actually doesn't work. So when I first moved to West Virginia back in 21, I had to get a new driver's license. And so, or I had to get a driver's license, or a U.S. driver's license, or a West Virginia driver's license, because I was living here. So I go in, and I had to, because they weren't accepting my Swiss one, they had me do the whole thing. So I had to get a permit even first, or temporary. I had to get a temporary license. So when I got the temporary one, they said, do you want to register to vote? And I said yes, and I put in all my information. And then during that same day, I passed my tests, and I was able to get my real driver's license. So then again, they asked me again, do I want to register? And I said yes. So anyway, so twice, I guess, in one day, I registered. But what happened was, it didn't take. I didn't get registered. I did their paperwork online at the DMV, but nothing happened. So then I waited, and I got nothing. And then finally, I think I went online and did it, or it could be that I walked in the door and did it. I can't remember. I did one of those things. I can't remember when or how I eventually did get registered in West Virginia to vote. But I waited for a while and nothing happened. So then I said, well, I guess I got to do it. And then, yeah, I eventually got registered at my old address in West Virginia. And then when I moved, I had to get a new driver's license. And this time I told them, I was already against the whole registering to vote concept at that point. So I said, no, I don't want to be registered. Don't register me. I don't want to. And I had to get like 2 driver's licenses because something happened. I think I lost one. And then with the second one, I again said no. But anyway, I don't think that system works. And I know most of the states are using it now. So anyway, supposedly in the video that I posted earlier, you can watch it, where they talk about these states and how they're complaining about this thing they have to do with the DMV and all this stuff. Well, first off, the 14th Amendment clearly states that the states don't have to do a law if it restricts citizens. But they're trying to claim that it works and that it registers foreigners. But my experience in West Virginia was it doesn't work. What it is it's an electric recording. And again, this is where things can go wrong. Because, so for me it didn't work, but for foreign people it works. So that's a little suspicious. So what kind of documents are really in there? What is the software? We only register through that system people who are foreigners? Maybe. That could be what the software is. So all U.S. citizens then have to do it manually or online? I don't know. Could be. So, anyway, it's a little disappointing that 24 states are declaring that that's why they have so many fake names on their registering to vote list. But I say that that's BS. Because like I said, in West Virginia, it doesn't work. So, I don't know. I doubt that in the other states it works, or it might work like I said. They might have software inside that all real citizens have to walk in the door and register, and then only foreigners get registered in that way when they get a driver's license. So we're talking about students from abroad who are here for school. They need licenses, right? Or workers who are here, also foreigners from abroad. So when I moved to West Virginia, apparently there was a drug company from, I want to say, the Netherlands here in West Virginia. And they closed down about a year or maybe less, even like 6 months after I got here. So all of their native people went home. But they were probably voting for as long as they were here because they probably all had driver's licenses. So, I don't believe everything your Secretary of State is telling you. And the sad thing is that, we voted these people in. I mean, we think we voted them in. They certainly know how to manipulate their system. That's what I can tell you. So right now, with all these names that they've discovered, these are the names that got them in office. So they're erasing their fingerprints from the whole thing. And they're going to, anyone who will spill the beans, they're going to probably lock them up. So this is not good, folks. We got huge problems. And the DMV thing does not work. I'd like to find out if any of you tried it and if any of you actually got registered in your state via the DMV registering thing. I mean, the other part of that is, truthfully, when I was confronted with that, I was like, why is this here? Because I don't want the police to know what party I'm in. It's none of their business. So, here in the U.S., what we've got right now is driver's licenses that say, what accidents, of course, you've been in and everything. I mean, who knows what other medical stuff is there. But then it tells you what political party. And it tells you if you're an organ donor or not. So this is just invasion of privacy. This is against the 4th Amendment, We have the right to privacy. So you just got to stop it. I don't know what the DMV is thinking, but this is not acceptable. Not at all acceptable. So anyway, I am unregistered. And if I am unregistered. So the other thing that everybody needs to know in the U.S., if you are a citizen and you're going to vote, is that they have put together these fake end of time when you can register. They're just fake numbers. Because if you're a U.S. citizen, you have the right to vote. And your state and your county cannot stop you. You have the right to go in and vote, period. Nobody can tell you that on November 5th, you have to go home because you can't vote. No, because you're unregistered. No. You can register on November 5th. Their deadline is BS, like everything else they're telling us. Just please watch your backs. The Democrats and the Republicans are not on your side. You got to read your Constitution, know your rights, or follow along with me. I'm going over the rights so that you can know what they are. But it's your right to vote. They have no business stopping any citizen from voting, period, and having that vote counted. So you can go in on November 5th. You can vote. Apparently, you can even vote without documentation. You just have to promise to show it later. So, yeah, it's a scandal. It's a scandal what they've done. And they have no business giving us these fake and phony deadlines. It's stupid. So my recommendation, if you are currently registered, unregister. Call up your county clerk. Say, I want to unregister. How do I do it? And let them tell you how to do it and do it. Get off their list. Because if they don't have your name, they can't mess with it. Then, on November 5th or any time then after you're unregistered, when you go in, they're going to make you re-register. And that's okay. You do it. You vote. I mean, it's not okay. I will say it's not okay. But if my lawsuit doesn't come through and you want to vote and you want to have your vote counted, this is what they're going to ask you to do. And this is simply what you do. You show up with your IDs, you show you're a citizen, and you show that you are living where you are. You do your voting, and then once you vote, then you hand it in, of course, whatever, and then 2 weeks after the election, go ahead and take your name back off that voter list. Because if they don't have your name, your name cannot be changed or used or abused, and then you know that only you are voting for you. Because that's what happened to me. I was registered to vote in New York State, and I didn't vote in 2 of the elections when I was living abroad, and somebody voted for me. So folks, it does happen. Then when I came back to change my New York State, this is when I was living in New York, when I came back to change my voter registration from upstate New York, or from western New York to New York City, I finally had to walk in the door after sending several of those postcards in because they weren't changing it. And apparently they had me on the list with a misspelling. So that's why they didn't change it, because there was a misspelling. So, but why did I get accurate documents online with my correct spelling? So I'm a bit confused. New York State, you still got me confused. Then I tried to get off their voter registration list in New York once I moved to West Virginia. And lo and behold, I found out just last year I was still registered to vote there. So for a time, I was registered in 2 states by accident. So, this whole voter registration thing, it's got to go. There's so much fraud in the system. Nobody's doing anything. They have no clue to what they're doing. We need to work with the Social Security number list. It's also the IRS list. On that list, you only have one residence. Only one residence. So I recently, over the last couple of years, I met some people who have more than one driver's license. So you know what that means? Those people can vote in more than one state because they have an address in different states. So folks, this whole, I don't know how did this get so far? I know it's been going on for decades. It's not even a year or two. It's decades. Some of these people who have been voting since the 90s, since last century. So this is just shocking. This is not acceptable. We need a new way. You all know it. And the Secretary of States, they should all be fired. They know and they planned it all. They've been manipulating our votes with illegal names and illegal things for decades, if not a century. I think it goes back 100 years. But, because I'm sure that they weren't letting black people vote for a long time. Certainly not Native Americans, and certainly not Asians. They were probably, for a long time keeping those people from voting. And of course, women, we weren't even allowed to have our votes counted until 1920. So, anyway, it's over a century that they've been manipulating us. The point is that when we were, so as women, we've been technically allowed to vote the whole time. Because we could get passports, which meant we were citizens. We were full citizens. And the men of our country said no. They would not let us. They had Susan B. Anthony arrested because she voted. It's just crazy. Stop your lying. Stop the manipulation. We've had enough. This is the United States of America. We stand for freedom. We don't stand for fraud. So, I am sorry to report all this sad news, but it's got to stop. It's enough now. So, yeah. So anyways, the next piece of fraud that I have is, and I'm going to have to figure out what to do about it, but let me take a bite of food first. I was working up an appetite driving. So, apparently, there are states that won't let you vote for the presidential candidate you want to vote for. I mean, I also can't vote for the presidential candidate I want to vote for. We have over 100 presidential candidates. The media is in the pockets of the two big parties. That's why you never hear about the other parties. So there are people running with a party, and then people running independent, and then there are people like me who are a write-in candidate. I don't have the money to get on TV. So that doesn't make me not a presidential candidate. And there are people out there who want to vote for me. But in some states, it's being restricted. They say, oh, for presidents, we don't do that, or, oh, we don't allow write-in. It's time for the states to do their job. They have to count the votes from the citizens for presidential candidates. Now, I have been working as a presidential candidate since 2020. I started running. Then I took a break, and I was running for Congress, but I kept my presidential thing going in the background because I knew I was going to run for president again. And then I stepped up pace at the beginning of this year. I am an official presidential candidate. You cannot restrict your citizens in the country who is all about liberty and freedom. So you states, you know which ones you are. But let me get my paper. And I'll go over it. I sent them all an email Thursday or Friday telling them that this is not acceptable, that they are infringing They are violating my rights and your rights as citizens to vote for the presidential candidate you want to vote for. They need to learn how to count. Apparently, I guess that's the problem. They don't know how to count. So, but if you follow along with me, I'm going to post when I come to a new state. I'm going to get another ballot and I'll post it online to show you how it works. But anyway, so the states that do not allow write-in candidates, but I've asked them to provide a space on their ballots for me and for others so that you can write in our names. That would be Alaska, Arkansas, Hawaii, Louisiana, Mississippi, Nevada, New Mexico, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, which is where I am now, and that's it. So apparently where I am now, technically you're not supposed to be able to vote for me because I'm a write-in candidate, and I was told that you don't have a space on your ballot for that. But I'm going to get a ballot or research it tomorrow when your offices are open, and try to force this because they're violating your South Dakotan rights. They're violating my West Virginia rights. I have a right to vote for presidential candidates, period. I never wanted to be on the ballot. I tried to actually get on the ballot in the states where they say they don't allow write-ins, but I finally reread the Constitution, and I'm sorry. They have to count votes by citizens. You need to be provided with a space to write in a name, period. It's not acceptable. So I will be suing them if my lawsuit doesn't come through before that. So I've given them until Tuesday to get back to me. And if they don't get back to me in a positive way, then I will be suing because they're violating your rights, my rights. I also have a right, too, as a candidate, to be seen as a candidate. I never wanted to be on the ballot because I knew I also don't have that kind of money to get on the ballot. And, I would like to be on TV. I would love that. But the TV is not covering me because I don't have money to pay for making stupid ads, to hate ads, I don't make hate ads. So anyways, this is a huge problem, and there are more like me. There are a lot of write-in candidates that you could vote for. So do your homework, folks, and let's see. I'm going to see if I can find a place, maybe, where we can write it in, or you can write it in South Dakota and in all the other states that I just mentioned, because this is not acceptable. That's censorship. That's just sheer laziness. That's laziness. It's a mockery. We have a mockery of an election right now. It's a banana republic. This is disgusting. They're so in violation. The secretaries of states, it's not new. They've been doing this for so long. I've had enough. It's not acceptable. You need your rights. I need my rights. And they're stomping all over them, tossing them out the window, throwing us in the garbage. It's terrible. So in their lawsuit, too, they make it seem like, we didn't know that this was happening. Oh, poor us. We have all these fake names on the list. Oh, poor us. It's such BS. They knew those names were there. They used them. That's how they got into office. It's so terrible. Somebody please stop this nightmare we're living in the U.S. This is just terrible. So, yeah, I call on the Supreme Court to make a ruling on my lawsuit, These people need to be stopped. This is a farce. It's not an election. It's a authoritative dictatorship where, we're just hearing from certain people because of their religious beliefs, So if I was a Christian and following Christianity, of course, I would probably be all over the TV. But because I'm an atheist, they don't want to hear from me. So, you know, it's a bit upsetting, to say the least. We don't have to take this treatment. We don't have to. And I would suggest you do what you can, and I'm going to do what I can. But I would recommend becoming unregistered so they can't mess with your name, and that nobody can walk in the door and vote for you. All right. There are other issues too. I'm sure you're in a state where you don't get information in advance, so you don't know what you're voting on. The states need to provide you with the information so you can make an educated vote. So demand that they do that. I mean, they should be offering it. It should come to your house already, so you have time to know what you're voting on and do research on it. Not that you walk in the door and suddenly you're confronted with things you didn't know you had to vote on. So, folks, we got big problems in the U.S., and it starts with elections. We need election reform. And that's what I'm working on. Because before that, nothing else is going to work. So I just want to mention this too. One of the other arguments is that if you're already a criminal, you're illegally coming into the country and you get a driver's license and you've been voting for 20 years in our voting system because you had a driver's license, even though you're illegal, of course you're going to vote because you've already done crime to get in, and now you're doing more crime, and you're probably doing more crime too, of course. But if that's the theory, that if you're a criminal, you're going to do more crime, then, I don't know, isn't Donald Trump a felon? Doesn't that make him a criminal? I mean, I know felons and people who have had criminal records, and there's reform, sure. But if we go by the theory that once a criminal, always a criminal, or something like that, I mean, do we really want to vote in a Donald Trump if he's a felon? I mean, I don't really like to do hate, but I'm just using logic here. I don't know Donald Trump, so I can't really say if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I once thought he was a jerk, and then I started to change my mind about it. But when confronted with the criminality and the fact that a criminal can be on the ballot and can be on TV and in debates and all this, but yet, 70 other presidential candidates cannot, or more even, more than 70, cannot, because we don't have enough money, or we don't know the lawyers, I guess, we don't have enough lawyers, or maybe it's because we're not felons. Maybe staying clean and out of trouble was a bad idea. Perhaps. Is that the message we're sending to the people? Think about it. So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go because I don't really have anything else to say, except if you've already started voting, I know Minnesota has already started early voting. And I mean, that's also questionable. I don't even know if all the states have finished their primaries. And how primaries can be going on still after the conventions. I'm also confused about that. I mean, I'm also confused about starting to run for office already last year, about now, or even last month. So, we got to do something about this. This is just insanity. So, Supreme Court, I beg you, please, say yes to my lawsuit and let's move forward. We know what's going on. We need some big fixes. It's time for election reform. I've been hearing about problems for 40 years. It's time. All right. So my name is Susan Maud Buchser-Lochocki. You should write my name Susan Buchser in if you're going to write in a name for president, if you like my ideas. There are other candidates out there. Go to the FEC website and look them up. There's some that are on the ballot and, more than 70 that are not on the ballot. So do your research and pick the right one for you. I don't have a real vice president, so I'm telling people that if you want to pick from one of the vice presidents out there, you can. So you write my name in first, and then you can pick which vice president you like most. So that would be my suggestion. So, I got in it for peace, for world peace, and I got stuck with this concept of election reform because we cannot move forward as a country if we have illegal people running our country, and that's what we have. We have a lot of people who manipulated their way in with illegal votes. So until we straighten out that, we can't do anything else. But I also, in all the wars, and even in the cities and towns, I hear there's another couple of shootings that happened this weekend all over our country. So put your guns down. Let's negotiate. In the wars, or in the wars right here in our own country, between you men and I don't know. We need a ceasefire everywhere, and we need to sit down and talk. So I hope to address you two. Maybe I do like a State of the Union from my point of view. Maybe I do that sometime this week. I'll have to take a look. But yeah, so that's where I am. I need to talk to you, the American people. We need to talk about some things. So, yeah, and today is the first day of fall. So fall is my favorite season. When the trees start changing colors and it gets cooler. It's just long sleeves are my thing. So I'm happy. It was cold last night, but I'm not complaining. I loved it. So anyway, I wish you a good rest of your first day of fall, and thank you for stopping by. My website is susan4usa.com if you want to find out more about what I'm doing about my lawsuit and what's going on. Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks. Bye.